So Hare
It's
Krishna.
weird when you not like talk to someone.
So we're on now.
Okay.
So yeah.
Hello. Haribo.
Introduce yourself.
Wherever you are. This is Saskia, Mananda Mohini, H.D.Goswami. And Saskia is going to ask a question to Vedananda Maharaj.
And we are in the Auckland, New Zealand area. So go ahead.
My question is, what?
Yeah, if you use a little, because that way I don't have to repeat the question.
Okay. My question is, what is the real self, and how are we all different if our personality is so-called material covering or something like that? How are we all different at a spiritual level, I guess? And how and what carries through to the next life that is actually the self? Basically, what I'm asking is, who am I?
Okay. So that was a nice question. Spiritual question. Okay, there's the first thing I like to explain is that your present personality, or yourself as you experience yourself now, is not completely unrelated to your eternal self. It's not that everything about your personality now, everything about your self experience is just will go away and you'll be someone completely different. It's not actually like that. The example is, well, the word that Krishna always uses is avritam, that our real awareness is covered. So, simple example, if you have, let's say if you put a thin curtain over a window and the light still comes through, but not as much. And then if you put a thicker curtain, then there's less light coming through. So you are experiencing yourself right now. I mean, it's you are you. But there's much more to you than you experience now. For example, when you were a child, you were experiencing yourself, but then as you mature, as you get older, you understand much more about yourself than you did as a little child. So it's something like that. I mean, and there are some obvious points. For example, let's say if we experience, let's say, lust or greed or envy, then that's obviously not us. I mean, the pure soul does not lust or is not greedy or envious. And so, but let's say your self-awareness, your just experience of being you, when you're not, lusty, greedy, envious, or stuff like that, it's just you. Or especially, let's say, when you would like to serve Krishna, when you're eager to go and see the deity, or when you just want to chant Krishna's names or just do some service. That's really you. And of course, as we advance, we understand ourselves even more, much more. And we realize how much more we are than we ever imagined. But in the meantime, back at the ISKCON Ranch, yeah, you are experiencing yourself, just not fully.
Is it so? It's me if I'm.
You can just stay there.
Okay. So it's me if I'm wanting to do some service or chant Hare Krishna or something. But is it still me if I'm wanting to do some good for someone, but it's material? Is that still?
It's a difference between being, let's say, just a medical assistant that just gives someone immediate relief, like you're in pain, here's an anti-pain thing, or you're having trouble breathing, okay, I'll help you to breathe. Whereas a doctor has to come in and actually address the real problem. Mm-hmm. So the person who just does the palliative care just gives a little relief, like a medical assistant, and that's also good. It's just not addressing the actual disease. Mm-hmm. And all that comfort care in the world, the patient will still die unless a real doctor comes in. Mm-hmm. So that's what it is. I mean, making people feel a little more comfortable in this comfortable. The problem is that as long as they don't understand Krishna, it's just going to happen again. So you're not really solving the problem. And I guess I don't, I personally, I like to really solve the problem.
So what is it then that is it, what makes my spark of consciousness different from someone else's? Like what is...
Well, it's like, for example, you're a Kiwi, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let's say, aren't there Kiwis here?
No.
Oh no. Okay, let's say you're from New Zealand, someone else is from New Zealand. Then you're both New Zealanders or Kiwis. No wonder they say Kiwis, because New Zealanders is too many syllables. So, or let's say you're a woman and there's so many women, or you're a certain age, there's other people that age, or you may have some interests. Like, let's say you're a lion tamer and there are other lion tamers in your neighborhood. So, I mean, we are members of categories, so we're all souls, but you're unique. So it's one and different. I mean, even between souls, our relationship is one and different. We're all one with each other because we're all souls. But at the same time, we're all unique, which is great. And imagine if everyone was just a carbon copy of the other person. It would be actually be even a more boring planet than it already is. And so, yeah, so we're all one. We're all spiritual family, but at the same time, we're all unique, which is a good thing.
Yeah, that's it.
Another question?
Yeah.
That's good. Intelligent girl.
Why does the material world exist? Like, it's kind of, because everything is originally spiritual, it seems kind of an elaborate thing and kind of strange. Like, why is there a material world? Why not everything? Why did everything not just stay spiritual? Why was it created? It just seems so elaborate.
Well, universes are created on a need basis, So when the world needs a universe, and Krishna makes one. Because we have free will. We have free will, and oftentimes, even in this world, to experience really deep love, you have to make a few mistakes first. And most people, their first relationship is not the one, because both parties make so many mistakes. And then hopefully you learn. So it doesn't mean that every soul has to come here to this world. Every soul has to make mistakes. But Krishna, for one thing, it's really to Krishna's credit that, unlike some false propaganda about God, Krishna is not a jealous God. Krishna is not a jealous, angry God. He's actually a nice guy. And so, because there obviously are there's a significant number of souls that want to try their luck down here. And so Krishna gives them a really good facility. For example, let's say someone is a child of a very rich family, and for some reason the child is sick, then the child gets the best possible medical care. It doesn't have to share a hospital room with someone else, get your own room, get all kinds of facilities. So Krishna, because Krishna loves the conditioned souls, he's given us a really amazing clinic where we can, work it all out. We can work our way through our misunderstandings. And it's amazing. It's funny because if you look at early Buddhism when it was still in India, and from the beginning they always accepted karma. And then there were some Buddhists who were saying, wait a second, if there's karma, there must be a self. Otherwise, who gets the karma? It's like, I mean, there is an absurdity. It is absurd to say there's no self, but I accept karma. It's like, it's absurd.
Contradiction.
Yeah, complete contradiction. It's absurd. So the universe is, because if it wasn't, think of it this way. If the universe was just kind of like a sloppy job, or if the universe was just kind of like schlock, if it was just wasn't really a well-made universe. There wasn't much to do here. Like, okay, you have three basic choices: cockroach, camel, or human, or something. Then human beings couldn't really, or souls, I should say, conditioned souls couldn't really have a complete experience of life without Krishna. Because sometimes to really love someone, you have to become fully convinced. You've tried everything else or everyone else, and then you realize that no, that person's the one. And so, I mean, for Krishna, it's no big deal. I mean, whether he creates 9 species or 8,400,000 species, not like, he's huffing and puffing. Wow, 8,400,000. That was a lot of species. And then, God has to rest. So Krishna can create an infinitely variegated universe, and it's just doesn't take much thought from his part. He's really good. He makes it look effortless. And so, because if you think about it, all the different, really the infinite varieties, once you understand the law of karma and reincarnation, and once you realize that there are many, many inhabited worlds, then you realize it's a very big menu. And you have to go through it. You have to be fully, because what if, let's say you become frustrated with the material world just because there wasn't anything really interesting to choose. So that would defeat the creation would defeat its own purpose. The creation has to be big enough and variegated enough so that when you give up on the material world, you've exhausted every possible material body.
So that's why it exists. So
Well, it exists because we need it. If we didn't need it, why would Krishna wouldn't bother making it?
So
He creates a world in which we can act out our fantasies of life without Krishna.
So our origin was spiritual. We came from the spiritual world, and then we decided that we needed something more. So does that mean that the spiritual world is not, like, I don't mean to be offensive or anything, but does that mean that the spiritual world is not all that great if we, if as souls we're like, oh, it's the spiritual world, it's not that great, I want something more for myself. Does that mean that the spiritual world itself is not perfect, or is the imperfection lie in us? I'm just confused about the origin of, like,
yes,
why are we here?
First of all, what we have to remember is that something may be wonderful or perfect, but someone may not appreciate that. I mean, how many times we see in this world that someone gives up the right person or the right situation, then bitterly regrets it and realizes that they really had a great life and they foolishly gave it up. So the spiritual world is perfect, but that doesn't mean that your appreciation is perfect.
Right. And so if one day you make it back to the spiritual world,
I'm sure you will.
does that mean we can fall down again?
No, Krishna talks about that. He says that once you go back, you won't return here.
So
because you learned your lesson. Krishna,
okay. Right.
I don't know if you've noticed it, but it's not that easy to be Krishna conscious. I mean, in the sense that there's a lot of, what's a nice word for it? It's just this world's just so ultimately exhausting because of all the struggles and all the anxiety. And so Krishna does a really good job. And once you go back to the spiritual world, you will be ready. And Krishna says that going to my world, people don't return. People don't return here. So Krishna will make sure that he'll make sure that you really learn the lesson.
Okay.
So we have Krishna's word. His word is his bond. You know, we have Krishna's guarantee.
That's pretty much all I had to ask.
Okay, any other questions?
Can I ask a question?
No. Yes.
So my question is, we always hear that Krishna and his name are non-different. So how is that also true for Shiva and his name, or Durga and her name, or the demigods and her name? Or is it only true for Krishna and his name? That's my question.
I have never heard that Lord Shiva is non-different from his name, or Durga, and so I can't say they are. And we've never heard that.
Yeah, I'm asking because, like, when you do kirtan and there's a lot of kirtan people out there now who chant, all sorts of mantras, and I just wanted to see if they're, like, do they actually connect straight with Shiva, like. But I have also not, like, that's why I was wondering if there's any shastric evidence for that. But I know with the holy name as a mantra, that is shastrically there, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Again, Lord Shiva is a great personality, so it depends on the motive also. Even if you chant Krishna's name, if one chants with offenses or just for material benefit, it's not a very powerful experience. Krishna's name is powerful, but if one chants with offenses, then the person is covering themselves and really like shielding themselves from the holy name by their own impure motives. Let's see if anyone here on Facebook had any questions. So, is there any other questions?
I've got another one.
Sure.
Um,
Step right up.
Okay. It's about praying, and I think I've heard some people say to me, "Oh, you should pray for that," but I think,
Like pray for what?
I can't think of an example right now. Yeah. Okay. Sure. Yeah. Praying for health. Is it up to karma anyway? So a prayer is that just sort of ruled out because it's up to karma, or yeah.
We're on a live broadcast.
Lunch is ready, so.
Oh, we're on. Oh, yeah. Okay, we'll just finish up. We're broadcasting live here. So
Christians in our heart, what do you already know? Our desires.
Prayers are good because it shows our intention. I mean, we're all working under the supreme power of Krishna, and when you show, just like, for example, a child may ask the parent for something, and then the parent may think, well, you asked for so many things, I don't want to spend the money. But if the child is really sincere and wants something for a good purpose, then by showing that sincerity and being a little persistent, that may convince the parents that, all right, you're really serious about this. So in a sense, prayer is, it's also purifying to us because it helps us to understand that we're under Krishna, and we show our sincerity to Krishna. So if it's the right prayer with the right attitude, then yes, Krishna gives you credit for that.
I have a question, Raj. I was wondering what you thought about status in Krishna consciousness. You know how we're all spiritually equal, and how that has status kind of refers to Krishna consciousness.
Sure. We are all equally souls, but we are not at this time equally Krishna conscious, although hopefully in the near future we will be. And so therefore it's in everyone's interest in a society to reward those people who embody the positive values of that society. So for example, if we honor people who are more advanced in Krishna consciousness, that actually helps everyone in the society to understand the value of that. And so, yes, it is in everyone's interest in society that people who exemplify, embody, excel in the positive values of that society, that they be recognized and rewarded, so they serve as a like a beacon for everyone else. And I think our lunch is ready. Anyway, thank you all. Thank you all very much for listening out there, wherever you are. And hopefully we'll see you again soon. Hare Krishna.